You are about to spend one ordinary morning. A single block of focused hours, the kind you have had 10,000 times before and will have 10,000 times again. On its own, it looks like almost nothing. Skip the hard task today and tomorrow arrives anyway. Phone it in this once and the sky does not fall. That is the trap, and it is a quiet one. This is about the lie of the single day, because a day in isolation is worth almost nothing and a day compounded is worth almost everything. The morning in front of you is not an event, it is a deposit, and the only question that matters is which ledger you are paying it into. Start with the man who saw this most clearly, more than a century before anyone said compound interest about a habit. In 1890, a Harvard psychologist named William James wrote the chapter that quietly fathered every habit book on your shelf. It is called simply Habit, and in it he gives us the most underrated image in all of self-improvement. Habit, he wrote, is the enormous flywheel of society, its most precious conservative agent. Picture that wheel, heavy, slow to start, almost impossible to move from a standstill. But once it turns, it carries its own momentum, and after that, the smallest push keeps it spinning. That is what you are doing this morning. You are not finishing anything. You are adding one more turn to a wheel that will either carry you or crush you, depending on which direction you spent years pushing it. And James did not soften the math. In the same chapter, he gives the line that should be tattooed on the inside of every ambitious eyelid. We are spinning our own fates, good or evil, he wrote, and never to be undone. Then the part that stops your breath. Nothing we ever do is, in strict scientific literalness, wiped out. Read that again because he meant it physically, not poetically. Every focused hour you put in this morning leaves a real mark, a groove worn slightly deeper in who you are becoming. So does every hour you waste. Neither one is ever erased. They are not graded at the end of the day. They accumulate silently in the only account that compounds. This is the part the lazy morning never tells you. It promises that today is a free sample, a throwaway, a day that does not count. James is saying there is no such day. There is no off switch on the ledger. The hour you spend deciding whether the hour is worth spending is also written down. This is exactly why a single morning feels worthless and is not. You cannot see one deposit move the balance. Charlie Munger, who built one of the great fortunes of the last century beside Warren Buffett, spent his life teaching this and refused to make it sound exciting. His whole prescription, stripped down, was almost embarrassingly small. Try to be a little wiser at the end of each day than you were at the start of it. Do your work faithfully. Win the thing 1 inch at a time, day by day. And then he promised, if you live long enough, the inches turn into a distance no burst of brilliance could ever have crossed. He understood that the long arc of small, consistent gains beats the short arc of intensity, every single time, because intensity quits and consistency does not. The reason almost nobody does it is that it never feels like progress on any given morning. It only ever feels like progress in the rearview mirror, years out. There is a second half to this that rescues it from being merely about quantity. Because you could deposit 10,000 identical, lazy, half-attending mornings and compound your way into mediocrity. The researcher Anders Ericsson spent decades studying what actually separates the elite from the merely good, and his answer demolished the comfortable myth of raw talent. It was not the gift, it was not even the raw number of hours, it was the quality of the reps accumulated. What he called deliberate practice. Focused, effortful, slightly beyond your current ability work, repeated and repeated until the ceiling rises. The best violinists he studied did not log more comfortable hours. They logged more deliberate ones, and they did their hardest, most concentrated sessions in the morning when the mind was clean. So the deposit has a second variable, not just that you showed up, how you showed up. A morning of focused, demanding work counts for many ordinary ones. The ledger keeps both columns. Put James and Munger and Ericsson in one room and they say the same thing in 3 accents. The day is a deposit that never gets erased, the gains are too small to feel, and the quality of the deposit decides everything, which means the entire game is just refusing to despise the single morning. See what changes when you stop measuring today against today. The bad mornings stop feeling like failures and start feeling like data. 1 weak hour does not bankrupt you. The flywheel has too much mass for that, but you also lose the alibi that 1 weak hour is free because James already told you nothing is wiped out. It is not catastrophe and it is not nothing. It is one turn in the wrong direction and you simply turn it back tomorrow. The good mornings stop needing applause. You do the hard executive decision, the 2 hours of deep work nobody clapped for, and you no longer wait to feel it pay off by lunch. You know the payoff is structural, not immediate. You made a deposit into an account you will not check for a decade, and that is precisely why it is worth making. And the whole timeline relaxes. The person you are quietly becoming is not built in any single morning. They are built in the accumulation, the way a coastline is built by tides that each looked like nothing. You are playing a 10,000-day game. You can afford to lose a morning. You cannot afford to believe that losing them is free. So treat this one morning as the small thing that decides the large one. I make one deliberate deposit this morning before I am allowed to call the day begun. I do the hardest, most focused work first because Erickson proved the quality of the rep is the whole game. I aim to be 1 inch wiser than I woke up, and I let the inches compound. I refuse to despise the single day, and I equally refuse to believe it is free. I remember that nothing I do this morning is ever wiped out, for better or for worse. I add 1 turn to the flywheel in the direction I actually want to go. I play the 10,000-day game, and I pay today's deposit into the right ledger. That is the morning, not a sprint and not a single decisive act. One deposit made well into a self that takes years to build and is being built right now, whether you are paying attention or not. If this reframed the day for you, stay with this channel. Every morning the long view of the small disciplined act. And tonight the mirror of this exact idea turned the other way. This morning you paid today into the long ledger. Tonight in this day was only a stage. Marcus Aurelius Hermann Hesse, and the philosopher Pierre had to help you set this very same day back down as a passing stage you have already lived through and can release. Come back this evening to put the long game down and rest inside it. Begin disciplined, end reflective. Now deposit.